The small one will always care more and they'll go above and beyond and that sort of thing, whereas a large company just tends to be that's the way it is.
Welcome to the Content in Business podcast, and today we're talking to Colin Durrant, who's owner and CEO of Okapi. Okapi Technology provides IT tech support directly to the staff of businesses, particularly on the security side of things. Colin, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Si. Thank you very much for having me on.
It's no problem at all. Thank you for joining us. Well, first of all, I think it's best to go straight into to tell us a bit more about Okapi.
Yeah. I started my own business going back to 1999, actually. So it's been going for a while, in various different guises. I'm trying to remember, I think it was 2008 I started Colin's IT Limited, and that we rebranded to Okapi Technology, just because we wanted something a little bit more, something unique and something with a backstory to it and something like that. So the Okapi is actually an animal that you only find in the Congo in Africa, and it's an endangered species. So it was just a way of calling our company after something which we could highlight the fact that it's an endangered species and bring a little bit more knowledge to it and that sort of thing. And we help out with donations to there's a company that sort of does quite a lot in the area to try and promote, reproduction and that sort of thing, and looking after. The biggest problem they have is really looking after their environment and making sure that the people don't cut down all the forests and, that sort of thing. So they do quite a lot of work on that side of things. So yeah, it's just to bring a bit of uniqueness and a bit of a backstory to something. So that's where Okapi comes in. Just really been doing quite a similar thing, although the cybersecurity stuff's been increasing over the time. That's been a bigger issue over the last couple of years. Well, it's been that issue for a long time, but it's been more mainstream, I guess. Just looking after small companies and all their network and support needs and really helping them design and as Microsoft change and bring new things in place, it's helping customers take advantage of that and just to, find a new way of working. Often it's cheaper than what they're doing. You don't always need a big server these days anymore, depending on how you're working. So that can save people money. But just working more efficiently and effectively, especially with a lot more people working from home as well. So that's quite a big thing. So it's just setting people up to be really productive from home and be able to do everything they need to do.
I think the idea of the company name is fantastic. Having any kind of additional, cause behind a business. Like you say, it's unique, which helps you stand out, but it's not unique for unique's sake. That it's amazing to have that, that additional call. And then, like you say, to follow it up with action as well, with donations and things like that. That's an incredible thing. So, has the journey you're talking about, obviously, the way things have gone with people working from home and things as well. And I can imagine over the years, your client base has grown. Has the journey been what you've expected it to be so far?
I think we've always wanted to grow and to work with bigger companies. So that was part of the rebranding as well, because I think it was called Colin's IT Limited, which gives kind of the wrong impression. It gives it almost gives the one-man band kind of impression. And, it wasn't the right name for what we wanted, for the kind of customers that we wanted to go after. So that was one of the reasons for the rebrand. I think it's just, we've always grown, steadily over the years, but it's, I think we're always just trying to find bigger customers and better customers to work with. And it's really about, I think what really I think the industry's changed. So a lot of what I find as well is that a lot of companies don't really appreciate IT support. So they'd much rather have something shiny. So if you said, oh, well, we'll deliver IT support to all your staff and make sure they, can do everything they need to do and there won't be any downtime, etc. Or you can have a new fancy iPhone 15. It's like, I'll have the iPhone 15. So I think that's been a change. There's been a lot of changes in the market and it's to try and do that value. But I think it's definitely it's just really making an impact on a company. I think that's getting that satisfaction, from knowing that you do a great job for a customer and you really help them achieve what they achieve, etc., by supporting them and helping them grow and do other things. So that's a part of it, and it's that's always good and fulfilling. But yeah, I think you've always got grand plans when you start, and then it's not that it doesn't work out, but it's just not as straightforward as you kind of hope. You kind of, you really want to be ambitious and be the biggest IT company and everything else. But there's, I think, yeah, it's not really reality kicks in, but there's just like a lot of companies out there. I think there's millions of more companies almost than you realize in terms of competition and in terms of customers and, everything along that sort of line. There's a lot out there. And it's just trying to find your niche, I think, and just focus on doing a good job rather than trying to be the biggest and all the rest of it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you've built a good business here, and interesting that you said about, the changing landscapes and things and things like that, and also having the kind of idea of what you want to go and then where you want to go with the business, and then, whether it's changing direction or just understanding where you are at that time in the marketplace and what the achievables. But are there key things that how have you got it to this point? How have you got the business to this point? Have there been key elements that have brought you this far that when you look back and go, yeah, that was a really good thing that we did that, got this client or grew our awareness or something like that?
Yeah, I definitely think when you're a small business, having, good clients and bigger clients make a big difference. I also bought out a few other small IT companies as well and sort of took on their clients and that sort of thing. So that was definitely very good. That was definitely a good way to grow because you're getting quite a few clients coming in. Not all of them stay with you, and you have a bit of people don't always like that. When their supplier gets bought out, they just automatically think it's going to be worse. And we have exactly the same. We have suppliers, they get bought out, and most of the time it's worse. And because they tend to get bought out by a much bigger company who doesn't have the same ethos as a small company, there's a very big difference working with a big company, working with a small one. The small one will always care more and they'll go above and beyond and that sort of thing. Whereas a large company just tends to be that's the way it is. Can't do anything. Sorry, goodbye. So, but yeah, certainly buying a couple of small companies that made a difference. And I think, it's just analyzing almost your customers, because having a big customer isn't necessarily a good thing because they might suck all your time. And actually, while they may pay you quite a lot of money compared to your other customers, you actually spend a lot more time on them than you're actually getting value for yourself as a business. So definitely, almost getting rid of customers is quite important to analyze that. And also, there's some people you just don't gel with, and I tend to find this a little bit of an industry thing as well. There's some types of customers that we don't gel with really, just because I don't see the value in what we do. And I think it's important not to flog a dead horse and go, yeah, I think we should just go our separate ways, because because that's a risk to the business as well. So it's identifying those sort of things where you go, actually, this guy's running a company. He's being funny with a lot of people. There's something we're giving him advice which he's not taking, and we're telling him about backups and we're telling him about security, and he doesn't take any of that board. It's like, I think we should. It's a risk to us as a company by having customers on board that won't take your advice. It's like if you don't trust what I'm saying, then go find someone you do trust. Yeah. So I think that's important as well, because these things they can come and bite you basically in the future if you don't be in control. It's really about being in control and being aware of what's going on and how good your customers really are and that sort of thing.
That's a really good point you make about the right kind of client versus chasing the big bucks potentially, or it doesn't always pan out that easily, and
no.
I think equally small clients can also suck your time, but there's generally the damage can be a little bit contained more than if it's in a bigger organization. But I think it is a very bold move to have to kind of say, look, guys, this isn't quite working, but
and I think a lot of small companies are very wary of firing customers.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's really important to be able to do that, because the repercussions can be significantly worse for you. You might, you have a relationship with a customer and it's not great and everything else, and it's not really working very well, and you're like, oh, we'll just hang on and hang on and hang on, and you shouldn't be, and then something goes wrong, and then you are, well, I wish I had. So it's better just to go, okay, let's. And the biggest thing really is so the mindset around that is going, and the same with having a big customer which is sucking all your time, is go, let's use all that energy into finding better clients. So let's get rid of this client and stop wasting almost bad energy on them, and go and spend that time and energy finding a better client that's going to be someone that we like working with, and it's going to give us all a better experience, basically. So that's an important thing to remember.
Yeah. No, absolutely right. What's the kind of dream for the company? What's the vision that you've got for Okapi? Like, what's the ultimate goal?
I think, we've got some really good guys in the business, and I've realized this about lots of different industries in the marketplace, that there's very few people who are really good at what they do in any industry, and most of them are cowboys. And but there's a few small percentage at the top who are really good at what they do, and it's really about being one of those people at the top. And I know that we've got some really good skills and some really good guys. And it's almost being, I guess, more of a sort of, not really consultants, but just working with some really good companies that can see and appreciate the stuff that we do, and that really helps them, and that they kind of rely on us as that. So still being a small company, but just working with sort of, not necessarily bigger companies, but, I guess companies doing great things, and still being a small company, but being an integral part of those big, not necessarily big, but important companies doing really exciting and interesting things. And, because, just getting a big IT company to do your IT support doesn't give you any guarantees. We see it all the time. We have bigger companies, and we might see a client go to one of these companies, and then we spend all the time on the phone of their IT company asking our guys how to do things. It's a bit crazy. So really, it's just kind of almost moving up in the food chain, so to speak. It's just operating at a higher level and and working with people that appreciate, that also work at a high level and appreciate the stuff that we do, and that the fact that we will go, we'll make sure it's done. There's no, oh, it's 5 o'clock, goodbye. It's about working with people who need that kind of support from a company where we have to get this working. So you just tell me how to get it working and what we need to do, kind of thing. And knowing that they can rely on us. And I think that's kind of where we want to be playing.
Yeah. I think you mentioned again there about people appreciating what you do. There's so many instances where there's the conversation gets to a point where it's look, you're hiring me as an expert in this field, and especially when it's clients as well. Sometimes it's hard, especially like you say with smaller businesses, to say, hang on, I'm giving you my opinion. You might not like it, but it's, I'm giving you my advice, whether it's going to, change something in their business or whether it's going to cost something, or, it's not nice. It's not the things that they want to hear, but it's the things that they pay you to raise to them, as the expert.
Yeah. Yeah, especially on the cybersecurity front. So, I've come to realize something. I've written a couple of books on cybersecurity, and I wrote one recently, which was based around educating people via a story. So it was just, something a little bit different. I don't think there's anything out there like that, or not exactly the same. So it was just about, helping educate people on cybersecurity via a story. It's kind of the best way to learn anything, really. And having done a lot of the marketing side of things and around that, I kind of came to realize that everyone in their industry believes that that's the most important thing. So an HR person will go, the most important thing to your business is your contracts for your staff, etc., and that stuff around the HR. The health and safety person will be, the most important thing to your business is the health and safety. The cybersecurity person is the most important thing to your business, and so on and so on. So you got business owners going, well, all these people are telling me that what they do is the most important thing to a business. And I think the problem is that cybersecurity it's a different language. Computers are almost a different language. So when you look around at people, you realize that a lot of people don't even know how to use a computer. So to expect them to then be cyber aware of threats, etc., you've got no chance, because they can barely use a computer. They can do it to do their job. They can get into Microsoft Word and they can do that sort of thing. And they're probably mostly self-taught and, doing what they need to do to get a document out there or to send emails, etc. But to really use and understand a computer and a lot more, I don't think the majority of people in the workplace are really proficient at using computers. And so you're trying to teach them something about something that they don't understand, and they don't understand the basics almost. So it's very difficult to kind of, approach that barrier. And I think that people, because they don't understand something, they just kind of erase it from their memory almost. And they go, well, I don't understand that, so let's just hope it doesn't happen to us.
Yeah.
They kind of go along those sort of lines. It's interesting because I went to a wine tasting thing years ago. It's wine, People who don't know much about wine, it's like it's nice wine. They know a couple of different brands, a couple of different countries are good. But then they start talking about all this, the grapes and where they came from and the weather and, the bitterness and all these kind of technical terms. And you're like, it's like a different language. But that really made me realize that computers is exactly the same. Like when you speak to people in that, we don't really speak in jargon, but a lot of people do speak in jargon. It's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. It's like, just talk to me like pretend I'm stupid. Sometimes you have to kind of say, because it's, sometimes people are more interested in coming across as clever because they talk about something you don't understand rather than actually getting the message across to you and making sure you understand.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big challenge, on the cybersecurity, because it is a really dangerous, I can't explain just how many companies are getting hacked every single day and how many big companies get hacked every single day. And, it's our personal data, which, you can be as secure as you like, and, have your firewalls and you've done, you're completely cyber aware and everything else, and you've done your training and you've got all the tools and that sort of thing. But the second you give your data to somebody else, to a company, and you give them all your information, then they lose it or they get hacked or something like that, then you're done.
You're at risk.
And that has far-reaching consequences as well for people. And I know they're trying to change the laws and that sort of thing, but a lot of the big problem is a lot of this is box ticking. So it's ticking a box saying, yes, we've done this, rather than actually going, actually, I need to do this because I really don't want this to happen. I really don't want to have the bad press that someone's got all our data, or I really want our staff to understand the threats because I know that it's going to save us a lot of money by not getting hacked, etc., or having to pay a ransom or whatever happens to be the case. So people have to or business owners have to want to do that, and I don't think we're there yet. I think because people don't fully understand. It's almost like it's a necessary evil, It's almost, people think it's like looking at marketing and going, well, it's something we have to do. We don't really want to do it. We don't enjoy it. Maybe we'll just get this other company to do it or whatever, but it's not something that excites us or whatever. We don't really understand how to go viral or whatever it happens to be. And it's when people, it's almost like they lose interest, I guess. It's just, it's a necessary evil. It's something they have to do. And I guess you want people to care about what you do as an industry and everything else. But I get, business owners, they're just juggling a lot of stuff or boards. There's just a lot of stuff to worry about. And there's a lot of, I call them business killers, when there's lots of business killer scenarios, getting hacked or having a massive health and safety incident, or, someone suing you because you fired them and haven't followed due process, all these kind of, that's not going to really end the business from a contract perspective unless you're really small, but
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's almost difficult to get people to care about what you do, and that's why I say it's about finding people who really appreciate what you do.
Yeah.
Because almost, I think, certainly from a bigger scale side of things, IT support is generally known as being bad. You're on the phone to IT, you're trying to get something sorted out. It takes forever. It's frustrating. It's, you spend hours on the phone. But if you offered those people good IT support at a premium, they'd be like, no. They can't. They know it's bad, and it's almost like they accept that it's bad, but they're not willing to.
The pain's not bad enough for them to make a change.
Almost.
Yeah. I think, you touched on it earlier when we were talking about clients and things like that, and good clients, bad clients. Yeah, the point you make about them wanting to or valuing the service you provide. I think that's absolutely massively important. You get that with, we get that with marketing as well, because you either, like you say, you either value it or you don't. And sometimes it's a case of you're trying to convince people, but you're just flogging a dead horse. You're just like, look, if you're not into it, you're not into it. And I've worked with businesses who just, there's certain parts of the business that they're just not, the owner, if it's privately owned, the owner is just not into it. And sometimes that mindset then funnels through, a part of the business they're just not passionate about. And that then funnels through, because it runs downhill, and that opinion usually funnels through. And then that's the whole business opinion of something, and it could be IT, it could be marketing, it could be health and safety, HR, any of those things, but again, then it's that kind of, well, that's why you just don't worry about it then, just outsource it to a good company and they'll sort it for you. And I think when you, like you say, you're the experts, so it gets outsourced to you, and, you're the experts, they're not, and that's fine. And then you can deal with it. But I guess one of the things I picked up on is that you said about, well, you are the experts, but ultimately there is a level of knowledge that people in the business have got to have. Yeah. Like you say, if people are technophobes, struggling to, use computers, can't keep up with the latest operating system on their phone or whatever, then that's really hard for you to control.
Yeah. I mean, I remember years ago thinking about, I don't know, I can't remember at what stage, whether I was looking at what business to run or something like that. And someone had said to me that the hardest thing to sell is when you have to convince your customer that they need what you're selling.
Yeah.
So you don't want a business that you sell something, but you have to convince them that they have the need. You want to go after people that have the need in the first place and know they have the need, because that just makes it 100 times harder. So, yeah.
And of course, we talk, there's a lot of, the opportunity with those people is to find a way to make them aware of the need. We've again, I work with people that are, that safety companies, for instance, and you mention this safety product to someone and they groan, but obviously if then kind of, if there was a government, incentive to raise awareness of the dangers of the consequences of not having this product, it's suddenly, you can start to flip the switch in people's mind to start thinking, actually, I do need to care about this, But of course, that's a longer burn. That's a slower process. That's investment that sometimes you can't even make. It needs to be the government or something like that, driving awareness and things like that. All of the cars have safety features and all of the, the law says do this and don't do this, but the government still have to put out the adverts and collateral and everything to talk about being safe on the roads and not doing certain things when you're controlling a vehicle and all those things,
Yeah. I mean, I find as well, I can't think of an example right now, but there's also been these so-called new government initiatives that come out, and now you have to do this and that, but people don't do it because there's nothing backing it up. They just say you have to do this. They don't actually follow it up and make sure you've done it. I mean, it's as simple as people on their phones in cars. There's no, they're not proactively checking that people are not using their phones in their cars, for example, and there's other examples, but there's no, it's just like, here's a document. These are the checklists that you have to do. But there's no follow-up or anything like that to make sure that people are. So I've noticed that definitely over the last few years that these schemes come out and then people try and jump on the back of them and go, oh, the government's saying this, you have to do this. Like GDPR. GDPR is a prime example.
Yeah.
We all thought, oh, great, we're not going to get any spam. Yeah, well, that didn't make any difference at all.
Yeah.
I still get people all the time emailing me without an unsubscribe option or something like that.
Absolutely.
Mostly recruitment companies. But yeah, it's, it doesn't really change a lot because you realize, when the whole GDPR thing happened, that basically their whole goal was to go after people like Facebook and Google, et cetera, and get big payouts from them. And they do quite a lot for other companies, but yeah, it's kind of, they don't, again, like I said to you, there's so many companies out there that their impact is quite insignificant in the grand scheme of things.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot, all the time, a lot of people's companies' dialogue is about what they do, and not so much features rather than benefits. Yeah. And again, I think that is something that kind of runs through everything that we've just been saying there. Is hang on, what's the benefit though? When you start talking about if your data is with another company, you think you might be the most secure, but who says that company is and that company is? And I think we've all been there. I know fully how cookies work and how data consent works. Yet I'm still guilty of just going, accept all, carry on. I just want to read the content because has anyone ever really clearly illustrated? No, look, here's a case study. This person did this, and look, this what happened to them, or this is what could happen to you. Yeah, that's where miss a trick on those kind of things. Yeah,
I think the cookies thing is probably a prime example of something that, for all intents and purposes, has failed. Because, firstly, people just accept it. I don't. I try and see if I can, reject them for what it's worth. But that cookies is not our biggest problem. It's not the big problem.
In the marketing world, it's Armageddon. It's the end of days in the marketing world. As you ask a marketer, it's, oh my God, cookies. But no. Get some reality. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's not the biggest. It's not it's collecting personal data, etc. To a degree, but you can't get specific. There's only so far. There's only so far you can go. But it's not like that was our biggest problem, and we solved it by forcing people to have a cookie notice. It wasn't that simple. Certainly with Facebook, changing the laws around Facebook and not being able to get that personal data and not being able to target people. That's an issue, but that's not really cookie driven. That's you putting data into Facebook or them seeing what you're doing on their website and then going, okay, this person is interested in furniture or interested in books or these types of books, etc. So that's valuable data, but that's, as far as I'm aware, that's not really cookie driven.
Well, there was a lack of communication and education around that as well. People opting out, assuming that they suddenly weren't going to get ads. Same as the GDPR kind of situation, and then everyone going crazy. I'm still getting ads now, but actually the ads are nothing that I'm interested in. Well, that's because you've opted out of any preference data. So, which is the lesser of two evils here? But
personally, I'd much rather have adverts which aren't relevant to me, because it means that they're not tracking what I'm doing. So I'd much rather than, I don't want to have adverts. I don't want to have adverts rather than having adverts. It's not like, oh, this is better because it's adverts relevant to me. That's not better. That's worse. Because that means they know exactly what you're doing or what you're looking at.
Yeah. It's like I say, it's that education piece around it. I think is so. What have you found in terms of marketing for Okapi? What have you found that works for you, and what have you found a challenge? How do you market the business currently?
We don't do near as much as we should do. Never, and that's probably an issue for us. We should be doing a lot more marketing. And I think a lot of it is word of mouth. A lot of it's just having good relations with our customers and asking them for referrals and that sort of thing. And that works well, especially especially in like certain people, they'll talk to their friend, and that sort of thing. So that works well in certain industries. It's just getting those referrals. But yeah, it's really challenging, I think, also getting burned, so to speak, in, the early days, doing a magazine advert or something like that, which is literally, should have just put the money on the doorstep. That's how useful it was. So I think just being really wary, and I think that again is a problem. Just changing subject slightly, but in our industry, from an IT perspective, like, I don't classify our competition as other good IT companies. I'll classify our competition as bad IT companies, because bad IT companies give the industry a bad name. And then when you go in there to sell your products, you come against resistance because they don't like IT companies, because the last IT company messed them around and screwed them over.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm all for competition and fair and other good IT companies also providing a good service. But yeah, people who are fly by night and provide a bad service is the worst thing for your industry. And I think that because that affects everybody in the industry, and then you have that, people have that resistance, like I just said about marketing. We did some stuff years ago and it didn't go well. And then you're like, okay, this, stay away from marketing companies.
Yeah, no, I get that.
And that's in every, in different industries. So yeah, we do a lot of social media stuff. And I think, it's very much about persistence. I think it's just, keep that message going. And I think it probably takes a lot more effort than people realize and are generally willing to put in. So things like LinkedIn, for example, commenting on people's posts and having conversations and that sort of thing. And, being proactive and that takes a lot of time and effort, and it's about having to put that in. And,
consistency is the challenge. It's often the challenge.
Yeah. So it just takes a lot more time. And I think as well, like people, I think certainly in the early days, it's like, okay, these guys come to you and they go, okay, put your advert in this book and this goes to all these important people and they're your perfect customer and everything else. And your whole life's going to change because all these customers are going to come to you and want to buy your products and everything else. And you spend all this money and you do it. And then there's like just, the weed, and nothing at all. So, and that's, like I said, gives that industry a bad name, and then you're kind of reluctant to do that sort of thing. So I think definitely on the marketing side is about doing lots of little things. It's not about doing one thing and expecting it to just be amazing and work, It's like viral stuff. Okay, they're probably a little bit better at knowing what's going to go viral to a degree, but it's not an exact science. You can't go, oh, we'll make it viral. It's like, well, no, you could spend lots of money on it and get lots of people to see it, but it won't actually be viral, so to speak. So yeah, I think putting all your eggs in one basket can be detrimental and set you up to fail almost. You have to do lots of little things well and be really specific and targeted as well. So it's like going, okay, this is these companies, these 10, 20 companies are our ideal clients. So let's do something really specific for them. They're in the right area and that sort of thing. And rather than just throwing, stuff at the wall and hoping something's going to stick, it's like being really specific and targeted. I definitely think that's something it's a lot better to invest your money into doing something like that than just trying to email a million people and hoping that somebody's going to reply to you and buy your stuff.
I think more and more these days people can see through it. When something is generic, people can just see past it straight away because everyone's so used to it, especially on talk about social media ads or something like that. Even if they are targeted to interest groups or whatever, generally there's a generic message that's to those kind of people. Would just say this, and again, a lot of talking about what we do, or we do this, and it does this, it does that, not how it helps, how it helps you, But interesting what you say about the viral thing, because even if something does go viral, who's to say that it's usually something that's disconnected from. I remember seeing a video for like a software support company. Years ago, and they had this fantastic video, completely off the wall, crazy video, really, millions of views, and all their other videos don't really get much at all, because all their other videos are the normal type of videos that you would expect to see that a client will look at, and so okay, it might have got a lot of eyes on the brand. How many clients did they actually get? Maybe they did, but it's so far removed. And especially when you look at TikTok trends or things these days, there's quotes and sound clips that are coming up from movies that were years and years ago. I'll be watching an old movie from the 80s or something, and my daughter will come and go, "Oh, that's a TikTok sound, that is." Really? Okay. Oh yeah, no, but we do this to it, and something completely different. It's nothing to do with the original piece of work at all. So, but
it's so true, because you do see those. I mean, I've seen lots of examples of it, of people that go, "Oh, look, I've got 60,000 views on this," and it's like, but have you got any new clients? Because okay, lots of people are looking at you, and you're getting that buzz because lots of people are, looking at whatever you've shared or done, but they're not actually going, "Oh, actually, that's really great. I want to work with you." They're not really doing that. So I remember this interesting story. It was this guy. He's in America, and he's I think he's a relationship coach, something like that. Anyway, he decided, okay, we're going to go full steam and create some videos on YouTube and do this consistently and everything else. And he really went to town, and he had, 4K cameras and really professional, and made sure they did everything really right. And they, released these videos, and there was like 10 people had seen them. One of which was his mother, probably seen it 3 times or something like this. And he's like, "Oh man, you put all this effort in, and there's literally no one watching it." But what he didn't realize was that Oprah Winfrey had seen it, because someone had mentioned it. So of those 10 people, Oprah Winfrey was one of them. And she got in touch with them saying, this is brilliant. And then, did some work together and everything else. And obviously everything took off after there. So it's interesting that people they chase numbers, but you need to be chasing quality, not numbers.
Absolutely.
It's about just being really specific with what you do, and this is what we do, and everything else, rather than just trying to be funny and just get, millions of people looking at it, or who are just like, "Yeah, that's funny, haha," and then they move on.
Yeah. Vanity metrics, we call them.
Sorry?
Vanity metrics, we call them.
Yeah, exactly.
So how many people saw that? Yeah, again, it's who sees it and what action they take from it. It's just absolute case in point. It's a perfect example.
Yeah.
Okay, well, look, as a standard, ask a closing question, which is from all your experience, what's the one piece of advice that you would give to another business owner?
Well, this is like a new passion of mine, not new, but developed over the last few years. And I'm going into coaching and that sort of thing. And it's about finding the right person for the right job. So it's just getting people, I call it, everyone's got a genius within them. And it's about finding what they're extremely good at. And it's finding those people in your business who are really good at what they do, because that makes all the difference in the world. When you've got somebody who's really, it's more than passion. It's that they are naturally good at what they do and helping people, and it might just be helping people, and then you add technical skills on the top of that, and then you've got someone who's really great at IT support. something along those lines. But yeah, it makes a big difference having the right people in the right job, and really people who love what they do, rather than just come to work because it's a 9 to 5. It's a job they have to do. And I think it's being not necessarily ruthless, but it's about, it's, for me, it was always about the person rather than the skills, because you can teach skills, but you can't teach personality almost. You can't teach passion or anything like that. So it's really about finding those people who really want to be in the business and are really good at what they do. And then almost, if you have to mold the position to suit the person better, but just really getting people to really, they just got to have that fire and that passion and really love what they're doing. They enjoy their job. Otherwise things just break. It's very, very difficult to motivate people and to drive the business forward when you've got people who are just there because they have to be there.
And it's sapping on the rest of the business as well, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen that. We had somebody who was working and they were just playing on their phone, playing games and stuff while the person next to them was working their butt off and trying to deal with stuff. And can you not see what's going on yourself? It's really demoralizing when the person next to you is just doesn't care and you trying to care,
Yeah. But like you say, it's the right action to well, it is to address it, like you say, is deal with that situation. I love that, the specialists, not generalists kind of approach as well. I totally agree with that as well. Yeah. Well, this has been a good conversation. Do you have any final comments or thoughts or messages you want to share while you've got the opportunity?
I think I've said most of what I wanted to say. It's just, I don't think, like I say, I'm getting into coaching people and helping them find what I call finding their genius. It's just finding what their purpose is and that sort of thing. I'm quite passionate about that. I've had a long journey along that sort of thing, and that's part of something. It's about finding something you really love to do. That's the key, is find something that you love to do and don't chase money, chase fulfillment almost.
Yeah.
Chase doing something that fulfills you rather than just chasing because you get paid lots of money or whatever.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Well, we love to let people know where they can find you. So, on that note, your personal website is colindurrant.co.uk. We'll link to that in the show notes, as well as okapitech.co.uk. And obviously we'll link to the social profiles as well. But yeah, thanks for taking the time for the conversation.
No, thanks. I really enjoyed that.
And I think I'm sure we could have a follow-up conversation and go, because I'm sure we could continue on for another hour or so. But I do look forward to watching, what you do in the future. And for everybody listening, you can find all of the links we mentioned in the show notes. You can find all content in business episodes at playfairmarketing.com/podcast and on all major podcast platforms. And until next time, thanks for listening. Thanks, Colin.
Thank you. Thanks, Si.